है हाँ यस
विद्या भारती उच्च शिक्षा संस्थान द्वारा आयोजित राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति 2020 से संबंधित इंटरव्यू सीरीज में आप सभी का स्वागत है। वी आर थैंकफुल टू माननीय प्रकाश जी, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग सेक्रेटरी विद्या भारती उच्च शिक्षा संस्थान, एंड माननीय रघुनंदन जी, जॉइंट ऑर्गेनाइजिंग सेक्रेटरी विद्या भारती उच्च शिक्षा संस्थान, फॉर इनिशिएटिंग dialogue and discussion on various aspects of NEP. Today we are going to discuss the provisions of NEP and flexible and imaginative curriculum. इस कड़ी में आज हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं प्रोफेसर माधव गोविंद जी। प्रोफेसर माधव गोविंद जी teaches at Center for Studies in Science and Policy, School of Social Science, Jawaharlal Nehru University. He did his PhD from Center for Study of Social System, JNU, New Delhi, and he did his MPhil also from same institution, and Masters in Sociology from University of Lucknow, and he secured second rank in the merit list. Above all, he is a well-known educationist. So you are most welcome, sir.
Thank you, Anish ji. Thank you, Dr. Vivek ji, for inviting me to this forum. Your forum has taken very innovative ideas and very important issues in new and this education policy and its implementation.
Thank you, sir.
So it is my pleasure to interact with you and to discuss the issues that you have chosen to do flexible and imaginative curriculums. Yes.
This interview will be moderated by Dr. Vivek Kumar Mishra ji. Dr. Mishra is an assistant professor and head of department in the Department of Political Science and International Relations, Gautam Buddha University, Greater Noida, where he has been since December 2011. He obtained his master's degree in political science from University of Allahabad and received MPhil and PhD from South Asian Division, School of International Relations, Jawaharlal Nehru University. You are welcome, Vivek ji.
Thank you, Deshi.
So now it is over to you, Dr. Mishra.
Thank you, Anish ji, for giving brief introduction of both of us. And first of all, I would like to appreciate the initiative of Vidya Bharati team, my NEP portal team, that team led by Sri Prakash ji, National Organizing Secretary of Vidya Bharati, and Sah Sangathan Mantri Sri Raghunandan ji. And I think this initiative is very important for actually generalizing the public spirit among the masses, because people has to know what is the real NEP, so that the real implementation will be possible. And I would like to say, before taking interviews, to say a few words on this national education policy. So I have read all policy, and then I found that this policy provides or includes the both vision and broad institutional framework to decolonize the Indian education system. This is a very important aspect of this policy, that this giving the space for Bharatiya perspective of education, which was totally ignored by the earlier education policy. So I would like to again welcome Professor Madhav Govind sir. Sir, आपका स्वागत है, and we are very happy to have interaction with you. And we know that this education policy are having different dimensions, different aspects of this education policy. And today, sir, we will discuss with you on the one of the dimension, that is the flexible and imaginative curriculum. So this is very important aspect of this policy. जैसा कि without curriculum, how we can change the system? Because अगर हम देखते हैं, I am from political science background, so I would like to share one thing, that अगर हम Marxist विचारक एक Gramsci है, और if we know the ग्रामसी थॉट ही, वो ग्रामसी का कहना है कि अगर आपको हेजमनी डोमिनेंस या रियलिटी को लाना है तो आइडियोलॉजिकल चेंजेस करना जरूरी है, और वो आइडियोलॉजिकल चेंजेस अगर हम करेंगे तो उसके लिए करिकुलम में चेंज बहुत जरूरी है। और दिस नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी एक्चुअली गिविंग मोर स्ट्रेस एंड फोकस ऑन चेंजिंग द करिकुलम। हमारा जो एग्जिस्टिंग जो करिकुलम स्ट्रक्चर है, हमारा कोर्स स्ट्रक्चर्स है, वो वेस्टर्न ओरिएंटेड ज्यादा है। तो हमारा सबसे पहला जो एफर्ट होना चाहिए और होगा कि हम करिकुलम में चेंजेस लाएं, एंड इसमें डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ चेंजेस मेंशन किया गया है। तो सर इन दिस इस सब्जेक्ट से रिलेटेड आई वुड लाइक टू हैव फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन टू यू, and my question is very simple, sir. What are the main features of flexible and imaginative curriculum which are actually propounded and mentioned in this national education policy?
Yeah,
Sir.
yeah, thank you, Vivek ji. Indeed, this flexible and imaginative curriculum is a very innovative idea that National Education Policy has incorporated. And what are the features? Why it is important? Because it will promote interdisciplinary thinking and learning, which is the need of the time to address the current national and global problems. As we know that today's problems are too complex to be understood through any one disciplinary boundary. Therefore, flexible and imaginative curriculums addresses these needs of the time. Yeah.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you, sir. You have already mentioned about the multidisciplinary and the holistic framework of curriculum. So do you have some action plan? Do you suggest us some action plan how we will implement this 4-year curriculum, especially in the UG programs?
Yes, Vivek ji. Even if we have very good policy, but how to put policy into action or implementation, for this is going to be a very gigantic exercise again. In the entire country, all the UG level programs, their syllabus, their courses need to be revised. And for this, I would suggest that expert panel in each discipline should deliberate on the first on existing curriculum in a subject and suggest revision and upgradation of the course contents. And their suggestions may be sent to Board of Studies in each university for their incorporation, modification and approvals.
Right, sir. लेकिन सर जैसा कि मैंने भी पढ़ा समझा कि जो मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी प्रोग्राम्स के बारे में बात है और एग्जिट ऑप्शंस की बात कही गई है इस पॉलिसी में, कि अगर कोई बच्चा 1 ईयर पास कर देता है तो ये उसको सर्टिफिकेट दिया जाएगा, 2 इयर्स में डिप्लोमा दिया जाएगा, 3 इयर्स में डिग्री अवार्ड की जाएगी, एंड 4th ईयर में उसको रिसर्च के साथ डिग्री दिए जाएगी।
Right.
तो सर अगर हम ये देखते हैं हमारे एग्जिस्टिंग सिस्टम में, एजुकेशन इज आल्सो ए वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट मींस फॉर एम्प्लॉयमेंट। अगर हमारा कोई भी पेरेंट्स है, अगर हम देखते हैं तो ये सोचता है कि हमारा बच्चा पढ़ रहा है, वो उसमें एक एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी फैक्टर इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। तो अगर हम अभी हमारा सिस्टम है, लेट सपोज हमने इम्प्लीमेंट कर दिया पॉलिसी, विद इन 1 ईयर में हमने सर्टिफिकेट दे दिया, 2 इयर्स में डिप्लोमा दे दिया, देन हाउ दीज स्टूडेंट विल गेट जॉब? What are the employability options for these students? तो ये एक बहुत बड़ी मेरे समझ में लग रहा है मुझे कि एक चुनौती है, इसको हम कैसे टैकल करें, सरकार कैसे टैकल करे?
Yes, Vivek ji, I also when I was reading this new education policy and attending many seminars and conferences, there people have eulogizing that this is going to be more flexible system, giving the chance for the student to complete their 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, or even up to 4 year, and getting different kind of degree. So they will not be going empty hand. They will have something. But as an academician, we have to think that what is the utility of this degree? Suppose, as you rightly said, that if a student leave the university after 1 year, and if we are going to give a certificate, what is the worth of that certificate? What kind of job he or she will get with that certificate? And second thing, how much we are going to teach, what we are going to teach in 1 year, what we are going to teach in 2 years, what we are going to teach 3 years. So all these things need to be very seriously, serious thought should be given before this provision is implemented. I think to make this multiple exit fruitful, we need to design our course structure in such a manner that ensure imparting of a certain level of knowledge and competency required for a certificate or diploma courses. So this is going to be very challenging talks that first we have to assess that what kind of competency we want to impart at certificate level. For example, a student take admission in political science. So in 1 year, what kind of certificate we are going to give after 1 year? How
Right.
much knowledge he should require? How much knowledge he should require after 2 years? Then we are also giving an opportunity to him that he can come back again and complete the second year, third year, fourth year like this. But there is no clarity that for how long time, when he can come back after 3 year, after 4 year, after 5 year, after 10 years. So there should be also some kind of clarity when we are going to implement that after completing 1 year, if for some reason someone is quitting, how long he can remain outside, when he can come back and resume his study. So really, to my mind, this is a very dicey area and needs serious thinking for the academician when we put in practice this.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Very good. And sir, for solution of this problem, I have read the National Education Policy. There is a concept of General Education Council. So General Education Council that will actually monitor the all thing, evaluate the all thing related with this course content and other things. And this council actually will frame the graduate attributes. This is the word. And
Yeah.
graduate attributes ही जो qualities, skills सभी mapping उनको map करेगा, and then they will give the green signal कि हम इसको इस उसी आधार पे हम curriculum develop करेंगे.
Hmm.
So what is the role of sir, this General Education Council, and how this council will actually play a very important role in framing of the curriculum of the the universities and colleges?
Yeah, Vivekji, in fact, this General Education Council is going to play a very important role in new education policy, because when we think of a value-based education, a certain kind of attitudes and temperament students should have when they complete their graduation. They have to become a good citizen for the society, responsible citizen for the society. Uh, so what kind of, it is not only the technical skill, but also some other kind of skills. So what is needed is that a graduate student should possess some generic skills and some specific skills to participate in a knowledge-based global economy, because he or she is going to participate in a global economy. It is not the only one area, other areas. He or she will be working anywhere. So in order to participate in a global based economy, knowledge-based economy, GSE should first, I think, the role would be to identify the generic skills, attitudes, and temperaments that a graduate should possess. So first thing would be to mapping out, as you have already said, that mapping out those generic skills. And then they can also suggest the ways and means to imparting those skills and inculcating the right values.
Right, sir.
That how they can be incorporated in the coursework, in the practice, in the other kind of ways in which it could be implemented.
Right, sir. This education policy actually also focusing on this inclusion of value-based education. So, sir, I am just telling you about our university. We have actually started to introduce some value-based courses just as an optional courses. And actually, what we have seen that most of the faculties are not interested to introduce some kind of changes or some kind of value-based papers. So my question to you, sir, ki how we will implement these courses, value-based courses, which are very important for multidisciplinary system.
Yes, yes, Vivek ji. When we talk about the value-based learning, so we have to see what kind of values we are talking about. So what are the values are there? And these values, if we incorporate in our syllabus, it will sensitize the student toward those values. At least they become that honesty, responsibility, accountability, eco-sensitivity, how responsible consumption, a responsible consumption behavior is also important. I think many times we understand sensitivity towards others, peoples, towards the downtrodden, the society. If these values are incorporated through some practical examples, it could sensitize. But the question that you have probably pointing out is that how to impart this thing.
Yes.
For this impartation, what we require, their adoption in behavior require institutionalization of those values. The values need to be institutionalized in education system, and proper mechanism should be there for rewarding and recognition of exemplar. Those who are showing those behaviors, those values, who are cherishing those values, who are honoring those values, they need to be recognized, rewarded, appreciated. Because a particular values flourish in the society only if society nurture it. So society support it. So they need to be supported and nurtured in the education institution itself. Yes, Vivek. Yeah.
Right. Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Actually, my question is also related with your last question.
Mm.
Uh, the question is, as we see that there is a rigid compartmentalization in higher education system, especially the system is based on department centric.
Mm.
I would like to explain. जैसे let's suppose I am from political science background, तो हम देखते हैं कि हमारे डिपार्टमेंट में क्या है कि हम पॉलिटिकल साइंस को ही पढ़ा रहे हैं,
Mm.
और इवन द अपॉइंटमेंट क्वालिफिकेशंस आर आल्सो सब्जेक्ट स्पेसिफिक. लेट्स सपोज यूजीसी कहती है कि आप 55% पीजी हो पॉलिटिकल साइंस या एलाइड सब्जेक्ट्स में, और नेट होना चाहिए, आइदर यू पीएचडी हो.
Right.
तो ऐसे इन्वायरमेंट में एनईपी एक्चुअली स्ट्रेस ऑन इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी, मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी की बात हो रही है. हम तो इस हम रिजिड जो कंपार्टमेंटलाइजेशन है दैट इज बेस्ड ऑन सब्जेक्ट स्पेसिफिक सिस्टम है, उसको हम कैसे डाइल्यूट करें या उसको कैसे हम ब्रेक करें सो दैट द interdisciplinary system will be promoted. So I think there is a need or requirement of the cultural shift in the entire higher education system. That should be actually not based on subject specific. That must be based on interdisciplinary. हम उस चीज को कैसे सर एक माइंड सेटअप लोग चेंज करें या कुछ इंस्टीट्यूशनल चेंजेस करें, ये कंपार्टमेंटलाइजेशन कैसे चेंज हो?
Yeah, Vivek ji, I think generally we use the term interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, and disciplinary, but there are the subtle differences when we use the term multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary. There are huge differences. They are not the same thing. And when we say that there's a compartmentalization of the department of the university or education system, yes, they are compartmentalized. Now, when we are saying that there should be interdisciplinary department, but the question is that why do we require interdisciplinarity? What is the need for interdisciplinarity? Interdisciplinarity is needed when we have to address a particular problem. Our transdisciplinary is needed when we are tackling a particular problem. Say, for example, there's a traffic problem or pollution problem in Delhi, RNCR region. So this pollution problem, who should address this? The pollution problem cannot be addressed only by the environmental scientists or only by the, political scientists, sociologists, economists, maybe transport engineer, maybe the people who are hydrographic people, those who are working. So there we require expertise from the different people, different areas.
Right,
So
right.
here we require interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary work that work to address this problem and they find some solution. and solution comes from all disciplines. But the question is, we cannot make interdisciplinary research vibrant unless we are also strengthening our disciplinary culture. A student must have some core competencies, because if you are participating in this problem and that environmental related problem, if you are participating as an economist, so you should be competent, you have a core competency in the economics to understand that how it is going to be addressed. What are the implications? Suppose environmental scientists are suggesting let us install the filter throughout the NCR region, but economists will look that what would be the cost of operation, cost of installation, cost of maintenance of so many things. And a political scientist would be also sitting that if you decide that let us have odd and even policy to reduce the number of vehicles, how it is, what is the political implication of this thing. So,
Right, sir.
If you are expert in the political science, you are expert in sociologists, you are expert in economics, then you can bring your expertise to address a particular problem. So interdisciplinary narrative, to my mind, will flourish only if disciplinary culture is strengthened. A student must acquire one competency or core competency in an area in order to participate in interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary research.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Well answered, sir. And there is a criticism I have read by written articles by some scholars about this implementation of NEP at the state level, because as we know that the education is the concurrent list subject. So education में center को भी power है, state को भी power है. तो लेट सपोज हम एक करिकुलम मॉडल प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं CBCS बेस्ड, या वी विल चेंज द CBCS पैटर्न व्हिच इज ऑलरेडी मेंशन्ड इन द NEP. तो अगर हम ये देखते हैं, क्योंकि स्टेट्स का ये क्लेम्स है जहाँ पे डिफरेंट पार्टी पॉलिटिकल बेसिस जो गवर्नमेंट है, दोज आर अगेंस्ट द रूलिंग पार्टी, they have stated that the center has not taken due cognizance or consent of the particular state. So do you feel that there would be the problem to implement or apply the curriculum at the state level? हम इसको राज्य तक कैसे implement करें, क्योंकि नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी, अगर हमारी जो भी विचारधारा पे डिफरेंसेस भी हैं कहीं पे, वो स्टेट इसको एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं. वो कह रहे हैं कि they have not taken our confidence, they have not consulted in every at any level. So do you feel that there would be the problem at the implementation level, at the state level implementation? And do you think that there would be some centralized mechanism to implement this NEP at the country level? I think you got the point, sir.
Yeah, I got the point that what would be the role of state, and
Yes,
if a state decide not to implement, what center can do with this new education policy. In fact, new education policy provide enough flexibility for implementation, even for the state, because state would be the main implementing agency. They have to recruit the teacher, they have to train them, they have to deploy them. Yes, some national curriculum body that has been envisaged that may provide some kind of broader contour of the things, and then local context, they have the flexibility to incorporate local idols, local custom, culture, folklore, histories, they can incorporate there. So state have this kind of flexibility even within the broader framework of national education policy for the implementation. Central government are regulating institution of higher education institution or any education institution can provide guidelines and assistance in implementation of the policy.
Right, sir. My next question related with the teacher, which we are both, and that is very important. I think to deliver and design flexible and imaginative curriculum effectively, we need a large pool of trained teachers who actually understand the pedagogical needs, who can make the very good syllabus, very good curriculum. So do you feel that the teachers recruitment and training are possible in very short period? And if yes, then how the government will recruit the teachers, because we are from same background, we know the how much time this process will take place. And
Right.
that is very the important aspect of the national education policy. So how the government will tackle this issue?
Uh, Look, Vivek, we have to see when we are talking about the framing of the syllabus or framing of the curriculums. Framing of the curriculum, at least in one state, it will go like for I missing. So if any state, the state can easily find out some expert, at least 10, 20, 30 people could be fine, could sit together and frame a syllabus for school for the higher educations also. But the question is that if you frame those curriculums, then we probably also require training of those teachers, because a new kind of pedagogy we require to implement, to impart the training, and it will be a challenge. But this challenge has to start somewhere. The process must start. I mean, our training, we have large number of training institutions also in the country. They can start the process, and in gradual manner, in phased manner, probably we can achieve, not in one go, but I think in over a period of time we can achieve.
Right, sir. Right, sir. You can do it.
Mm.
And my next question related with the funding. As we know that this policy recommends the 6% of GDP,
Mm.
which is nearly 2.5 lakh crores of rupees will be actually spent in the implementation of this policy.
Mm.
As we know that we are in the when victim of this COVID-19 disease, we know our economic conditions of the country, how much we are economically strong. So in such environment, how the government will manage economically, because fund is very important to implement this education policy.
Yeah, Vivek, yes, I think fund is the crux of any implementation policy. Policy looks good on paper, but when we start implementing, require money for implementation. And government has committed to spend 6% of GDP, but it may not be possible in a few years because of this COVID-19 epidemic that has badly affected our economy. But government can start, I think I start in a phased manner. Even if we start with the same budget in this year, it can do something by, I mean, two, three other ways it can mobilize the resources. One is private sector should be also encouraged to participate in the process. Second, the existing resources could be optimally utilized. I mean, where we have the already the existing infrastructure that could be optimally utilized so that we can address the problem of the funding.
Right, sir. You have well answered all questions, sir.
Mm.
And what is your concluding remarks? How you can conclude this?
Uh, I would say that new education policy is going to change the software of our country. I mean that it is going to change and revolutionize the culture of the country, and is a step toward making Atmanirbhar. But the process, I mean, implementation should stop. We have already lagging behind in implementation. And my first suggestion would be that implementing agency, that is Ministry of Education, it has already changed its name. What the next is there, Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog, that should be made first. Its structure, function, and location should be identified, because then process will take momentum. Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog should be constituted immediately.
Right, sir. I would like to say a few words in the conclusion, sir. मेरा ये मानना है कि this policy is actually in the tune with the ideals of Swami Vivekananda and the ideas of Abul Kalam ji, education being capable of transforming humans' principles. And this has also included the ideology and ideas of Deen Dayal ji.
Mm.
And this policy is actually based on the our Prime Minister vision of this. That is, you have already stated that Atmanirbhar Bharat. So if we will implement this policy, so I feel that there must be linkages between the school and society. What I think, this should not be the onus of the only government, that government will manage everything. I feel that the society will have to play very important role. मेरा ये मानना है कि अगर समाज का, सिविल सोसाइटी का रोल इक्वली रहेगा पॉजिटिव, तो ये पॉलिसी हम इजिली इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकेंगे। और जैसा सर आपने बताया ही कि ये जो है एक डिसाइसिव शिफ्ट है, जो एक ट्रेडिशनल हमारा चला आ रहा मैकाले बेस्ड एजुकेशन सिस्टम, तो एक तरह से ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ऑफ ओल्ड सिस्टम है। एंड दिस पॉलिसी, आई फील दैट दिस पॉलिसी विल डिकॉलोनाइज द माइंड ऑफ आवर न्यू जनरेशंस। सो मेरा ये मानना है कि ये पॉलिसी इम्प्लीमेंट होगी, जिसमें सरकार के साथ साथ समाज का भी रोल होगा, और फ्यूचर्स में जो हमारी यंग जनरेशन होगी, दे विल बी द स्किल बेस्ड एंड दे विल बी यू नो द self generated, you can say self dependent youth of this country. So thank you very much for giving your precious time, sir, and thank you, Anish ji, and over to you, Anish ji.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Professor Madhav Govind sir.
Ji, thank you, Anish ji. Thank you, Vivek ji.
For such an
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
And sparing your valuable time from the busy schedule.
No, it was indeed my pleasure. When Vivek ji called me, I thought that I must interact.
Thank you, sir.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
it will not only benefit our administrators, but
Yeah, and both of you welcome to JNU anytime. You
Sure,
come,
Sure, sir. Thank you.
let me know
Thank you,
if
sir.
you require.
We will.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
and thank you very much.
Thank you, Anish ji.
Excellently.
And
moderated.
thank you, Vidya Bharati, my NEP.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.